The Cunning Old Man and the Three Dumb Thieves. Far, far away in the distant mountains lived an old man and his wife. There, on a small plot of land, they lived a peaceful life, tilling the soil to grow their food with the help of their donkey. After many years of faithful service, the donkey became very old and tired, so they decided to sell it. The old man packed up some food, hitched the donkey to a rope, and set out with him on a 2-day journey to the village market. After a half-day's walk, he was spotted by 3 thieves hiding near the road. "Let's steal that donkey," said the thieves, and they schemed up a plan to trick the old man out of his donkey. 2 of the thieves hid further down the road, leaving the first thief to pass by the old man, saying, "Where are you going with that cow, my friend?" The old man was surprised. "This isn't a cow, it's a donkey," he said. "Nonsense, it's obviously a cow." The 2 of them argued for a while, and then the thief offered the old man a bet. "I'll bet you 100 pesos that this is a cow." "But I don't have 100 pesos," said the old man. Very well. If I'm right, then you can give me the cow instead," suggested the thief. "It's a deal," said the old man. "But how will we decide who's right?" The thief pondered for a moment, then said, "We'll ask the first 2 people we meet." "That sounds fair enough," agreed the old man. The 2 of them set off together, and very soon they met the second thief, who greeted them with, "Hi there! Does it take the both of you to walk that cow?" The old man was a little surprised, but he continued on, and the second thief fell in beside him. Before long, they met the third thief, who said, "Hi! Look at how many of you it takes to walk that cow." The first thief said, "You see, it really is a cow." "Well, all right," said the old man. "I guess you win. The donkey is all yours now." The 3 thieves rushed ahead with the donkey, leaving the old man wondering what to do. Eventually, he decided to go to the village market and buy a new donkey, since his wife would be quite upset if he went home empty-handed. Meanwhile, the thieves reached the village and cleaned up the old donkey so they could sell him at the market. They brushed and trimmed his coat and clipped his hooves. By the time they were finished, the donkey looked completely different. When the old man arrived at the market, he looked at all the donkeys for sale. The one he liked the best was the one that had been his before. Without realizing it, he bought his old donkey and took it home with him. The old man's wife was very pleased when she saw the donkey. "What a splendid new donkey," she said. "We'll take very good care of him, so he will last as long as our old donkey. How wonderful that you found such a fine one." "Let's give him some water," said the old man. "He must be thirsty after the long journey back." They led him toward the water, but the donkey trotted on ahead. "Look," the wife said, "he seems to know where the water is. He must be very smart." And when they took him to the pasture to graze, the donkey marched straight ahead as if he knew where he was going. "Look how intelligent and tame he is," said the wife. "He understands everything. Let's call him Martin, just like our old donkey." When they called "Martin," the donkey responded right away. The wife said, "Look at how quickly he's learned his name. You've bought a wonderful donkey, old man. Congratulations." But the next day, when he was put to the plow, the poor old donkey got tired just as quickly as before. The old man told his wife about the 3 men he met on the way to the market, and they soon realized what had happened. "They'll pay for this," grumbled the old man. "Just see if they don't." And he sat down to think of how he could get his revenge. The old man bought a three-cornered cardboard hat and went back to the village. When he heard that the thieves were in town, he went to a bar and gave the waiter money for 4 drinks. He asked the waiter to serve him the drinks when he came back later with 3 other men, and to say that everything was already paid for. Then the old man went to 3 other bars and did the same thing. The thieves had heard that the old man bought the very donkey they had stolen from him. They were surprised when he appeared and greeted them with, "Hi there, gentlemen. What brings you to the village? Did you sell that cow you won from me?" "Yes, we sold him in the market," they answered. "I'm very glad to hear that. Say, you folks are so nice. I'd like to buy you each a vermouth. Would you like that?" "With pleasure," the thieves answered, thinking how stupid the old man must be if he didn't realize that he had been cheated. They went into the first bar, and the old man had the waiter bring a drink for all 4 of them. When they finished, the old man put on the three-cornered hat and said, "Pay, little hat, pay." And then he asked for the bill, but the waiter told him that everything had already been paid for. They left the bar, and the old man invited them to another bar. When they had finished their drinks, the same thing happened. The old man put on the hat, said, "Pay, little hat, pay," and was told that the drinks had already been paid for. The old man strolled down the street with the 3 thieves and invited them into a third bar. By this time, the thieves were very intrigued, and they eagerly accepted his invitation. The old man ordered drinks for a third time, and when he had finished, he put on the hat once more and said, "Pay, little hat, pay." The waiter politely refused to give him a bill, saying that the drinks had already been paid for. The thieves became very excited and offered to buy the hat, but the old man refused. "Why, I couldn't survive without this hat," he protested. But the thieves insisted, and eventually they convinced him to sell it to them for 1,000 pesos. The old man went back home cheerfully with the 1,000 pesos in his pocket, and the thieves decided to treat themselves to a feast. They went to the fanciest hotel in the village and ordered the best dishes, wine, fruit, coffee, and cigars. The waiter, sensing a big tip, was very helpful and did his best to please them. When they finished the sumptuous feast, one of them put on the hat and said, "Pay, little hat, pay." But the waiter brought them an enormous bill anyway and insisted that they pay it. The thieves were shocked. The second thief tried putting the hat on his head, but the waiter still wanted money. When the third thief tried on the hat, the waiter started to wonder if they were mad. Eventually, the waiter had to call the police, and the thieves were forced to pay. They were very angry and set out after the old man to give him a beating. But the old man was ready for them. When they found him at home, he was sitting on a chair and giving a pot a good lashing with a small whip. When they asked him what he was doing, the old man replied, "I'm cooking for my wife and me. She's too old to cook anymore." "But how can you cook without a fire?" "I'm too old to go to the mountains to gather firewood, but with this magic pot and magic whip, I can cook without a fire." He lifted the lid of the pot, and the thieves could see that the stew was ready. They were amazed because they didn't know that the old man had prepared it beforehand. They forgot why they had come and asked the old man to sell them the pot and the whip instead. "But I couldn't possibly survive without them," protested the old man. But the thieves insisted, and managed to buy everything for 2,000 pesos. They returned home and told their wives not to bother cooking because they were going to cook a big pot of noodles. They put plenty of noodles into the pot, covered it with the lid, and took turns whipping it until they nearly wore it out. But when they removed the lid to look inside, everything was still cold and raw. The thieves became furious and swore that this time they'd break the old man's arms. But the old man was still one step ahead of them. He put one of two identical white rabbits into a cage and gave it to his wife, saying, "Please, cook up some ravioli for 4 people. At noon, take this rabbit, frighten him, and run him around until his tongue hangs out. I'll be coming with those 3 rascals for lunch." Then the old man went into the countryside with his rifle and the other rabbit. When the thieves found him and saw that he was armed, they were very polite and asked him where he was going. "I'm off to hunt partridges," said the old man, and he invited them to join him. The four of them wandered through the countryside until 11 o'clock. Then the old man said, "Say, fellows, would you like to join me for a lunch? I can send the rabbit home to tell my wife to cook some ravioli for us." "What?" exclaimed the thieves. "How could the rabbit do that?" "Oh, don't worry. The rabbit is very clever," said the old man. And he turned to the rabbit and told it to have his wife prepare some ravioli for them at noon. Then he set the rabbit free, and it instantly bounded into the grass and disappeared. The 4 of them went home at noon, and the old man asked, "Did the rabbit give you my message?" "Yes," replied his wife, "but don't send him in such a hurry next time. The poor thing had to run like crazy to get here in time." "Oh my," said the old man, "I'm afraid it was getting late. Is he all right?" His wife brought out the rabbit for them to see. The poor thing was sitting there completely exhausted and shaking with its tongue hanging out. "Why, it really did deliver the message," the thieves whispered to each other. They sat down to eat, and the wife served ravioli exactly as the old man had said to the rabbit. They ate, drank wine, and chatted, and the thieves asked the old man to sell them the rabbit. "But I'm very old, and without the rabbit I wouldn't be able to send messages to my wife if I need to," explained the old man. But the 3 thieves were so insistent that the old man eventually gave in and sold the rabbit for them for 1,000 pesos. The thieves were very excited. They thanked the old man and bid him farewell. "Let's ask our wives to cook some good food," they said. So they told the rabbit to have their wives cook up a big batch of noodles and stew. As soon as they set the rabbit free, it took off like lightning. But when they arrived home, their wives were sleeping. The thieves became angry and demanded to know why dinner wasn't ready. "How could we cook dinner when we didn't know you were coming home?" protested the wives. "But we sent the rabbit on ahead to tell you," explained the thieves. "A rabbit? You must be crazy," said the wives, laughing at them. They soon realized that the old man had cheated them again, and the next day they went back to settle the score. But, as usual, the old man was well prepared. He had put a huge barrel on a sawhorse, drilled several small holes at the back, and written German, Italian, Russian, French, and Japanese under them. When he saw the man coming, he started talking gibberish, pretending he was speaking in different languages. The thieves asked him what he was doing. "I'm learning to speak different languages. Please don't disturb me." "What?" said the thieves. "Can you really learn to speak different languages with that?" "Yes," the old man replied. "You can learn any language you want." "That would be really handy. We could talk to each other and nobody could understand us." Could we learn to... All right, sighed the old man. I'll teach you, and this time I won't even charge you. What language would you like to speak? German, said the thieves in unison. Come here and put the tip of your tongue into one of those holes. Okay, that's good. The old man walked around to the back of the barrel, grabbed a small pair of scissors, and with a snip, snip, ship, he cut off the tips of their tongues. The thieves were in great pain, and they ran away, making blah 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 sounds because they could no longer speak properly. That's it, you've got it, the old man shouted after them. You're speaking German! When the thieves got back home, nobody could understand them. It took a whole month for their tongues to heal, and when they finally recovered, they swore that they'd get their money back or kill the old man. But of course, the old man had been preparing. He'd made up a bladder of pig's blood to fasten around his wife's waist, and they had been practicing how to stage a convincing killing. The thieves were livid with rage when they arrived, and they demanded their money back. The old man insisted that it was his wife who had the money, not he, so the thief summoned her. The old woman protested and said she had nothing. The old man became upset and scolded her. Then he lunged at her with a dagger. He stabbed her exactly where the bladder was, and she toppled right over. A pool of blood slowly spread from beneath her body. The thieves looked at the old man standing there with the dagger, and they became scared and tried to flee. Oh, don't worry, I kill her all the time, explained the old man. Please wait for just a moment while I revive her. He took a silver whistle from his pocket and blew into it 3 times, and with each breath words were mingled with the whistle's sound. Quick, calamort casantasi. The old woman rolled over and stood up in front of the amazed thieves. They badgered and cajoled the old man until he reluctantly agreed to sell them the whistle for 5,000 pesos. The thieves went home and made a huge mess stabbing their wives. They laughed, thinking that they would be able to revive their wives with the whistle. They blew the whistle and made it speak, but nothing happened. They blew and blew again, all night long, but their wives never came back to life. This time that old man won't escape from us, they shouted in fury. Off they went again in search of the old man. When they found him, they grabbed him and stuffed him into a sack. They took turns carrying him on their shoulders as they walked toward the mountains. When they saw a bar, they decided to take a break. Let's just leave the old man outside here for a bit, while we go in for a drink. They dropped the sack on the ground and went inside. Through a hole in the sack, the old man could see a shepherd with a flock of sheep. Aha, thought the old man, and he began to sob loudly. The shepherd heard the crying and came over to see what was the matter. Is there someone inside the sack? He asked. The old man answered and told him that the men were taking him by force to marry the king's daughter. Well, that's nothing to be crying about, exclaimed the shepherd. But I'm over 70, and she is only 20. It's really not very fair, lamented the old man. Well, I'm much younger than you. Would you like to swap places? Offered the shepherd. Perhaps, pondered the old man, but what would you give me in return? All I have is a flock of sheep. It's yours if you want it, said the shepherd. The old man agreed, and so the two of them exchanged places. The old man tied the shepherd's hands and feet tightly, and warned the shepherd to answer yes to all of the questions asked of him. Otherwise, they'd take him out of the sack, and he would forfeit the marriage. Then the old man left for home with the flock of sheep. The thieves came out of the bar and carried the sack to the river bank. Do you remember when we stole your donkey? Asked the thieves. Yes, yes, replied the shepherd. Do you remember all the awful tricks you played on us? The little hat, the pot that cooked by itself, the messenger rabbit. cutting off our tongues and making us kill our wives." The shepherd said yes to everything. Then they threw the sack into the river and went home very happy at last. After some time had passed, the thieves decided to pay a visit to the old man's wife to see how she was faring. But when they arrived, they were astonished to see the old man calmly watching over a great flock of sheep. "Why, hello! I'm glad you've come back," said the old man. "I wanted to thank you for everything. Because of you, I've become rich." "How could that be?" asked the thieves. "Where did these sheep come from?" "Why, from the river, of course," retorted the old man. "If I were young like you, I could have gotten lots more." "Is that possible?" they asked incredulously. "Well, here are the sheep. You can see them for yourself," said the old man, gesturing toward a large flock. "Would we be able to get some?" "I'm sure you could get many more than I was able to," the old man reassured them. "Well then, you must show us how." They grabbed 3 bags and went to the river. They climbed into the sacks, and the old man tied their hands and feet tightly and threw them into the river. And so the old man finally rid himself of those rascals. To this very day they haven't come back from the river. The 3 thieves are still there, looking for those sheep.